This is TurnOneThoughtseize. I'm Ahren.
And I'm Chris.
And this is episode 36. A new modern landscape shifted. It's the new best deck, basically. It's the best new Dum Dum combo deck now that Twin is gone.
Yeah, it's the best new Twin.
Yep. So we're going to talk about the Pay the Pros mini fiasco. Actually, I would say it was probably a full-size fiasco.
It was a full-size fiasco just for like PR purposes only.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
There's no more Modern Pro Tour. Hurrah! And consequently, Modern is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll run down the format and kind of get everybody up to speed. We are starting a new post podcast segment called the Spice Rack, which is something we talked about like a year ago.
Yeah, at least.
Because it's a great pun. And so we're going to do that. We've got some announcements, and the announcements are as follows. Playmat. You asked for it. We delivered. Kind of. We got delivered. The first one.
We did.
Which I said at the end of the last podcast. I was like, line in the sand.
Yeah.
The next time we do one, I will have a physical playmat.
We just had to push the podcast back a week.
That was unexpected.
It's fine.
But
we did it.
But in fairness, I actually did have it in time for the last podcast. No, I did, because I paid for 2-day shipping.
It didn't even come in 2 days, I don't think. It was just, oh well.
It was fine. Well, no, it came in 2 days after it was done. Like I ordered it. I ordered it on Monday, and I got it on Friday.
Yep. Which is not bad.
Which is
pretty good turnaround.
It was great, and the extra shipping was only a couple bucks.
Yep.
Whatever. So we decided to go through Inked Gaming or Inked Playmats, whatever they're
Inked Gaming. They make custom a lot of things.
Right. We are going to sell them for $20 plus shipping, which for most people is going to be around $25. Just kind of where we wanted to keep it. And we talked about that too, like a million years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't like anybody, including myself, enough to buy like a $40 playmat.
Right, yeah.
So
we wanted to keep it $25 shipped to your door, and for U.S. lower 48 states,
sure,
we can do that. For international
Alaska
shipping,
and Hawaii.
Yeah, Alaska and Hawaii, it's going to be just over. International shipping, it's
most places. Yeah, it's probably going to be like 8 to 12-ish, be my guess.
Right.
But if you live in a country that has a good exchange rate, it'll still work out to be about 25 schmeckles, like whatever your whatever your currency is. So that is our intent. This is certainly a fundraising thing for us. It helps us to pay for the hosting, gets us new equipment, gets us just Magic Online cards, like, because decks are expensive.
Even the like quote unquote renting of Magic Online cards is excruciatingly expensive, because at least with Magic Online the buy list prices are about 80% for all like in demand cards. But I wanted to do a video series on Green White Enchantress in Modern just because I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. But
Greater Auramancies are still expensive.
Yeah, they are.
And they don't go in anything else.
Correct.
So
they really don't even go in that. They go in that deck, kind of.
They go in that deck because it's a 2-mana enchantment that triggers Eidolon of Blossoms and Sigil of the Empty Thrones, and if you get 2 of them, you just have a hard lock.
Yeah, I guess. And then if you're going the Starfield route, that's also pretty good.
It is.
Give all your creatures Shroud.
That's pretty much the deck. I think is all 4 sigils, but only 2 or 3 Starfields.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So, as of right now, the plan is, if you were to go to our new website...
More on that later.
Yeah, more on that later. If you were to go to our new old website, old address, new website.
Yep.
You could pre-order one right now as you are listening to this. You could, for example, pause the podcast, go to your computer, type in TurnOneThoughtseize.com.
You can do it on your phone because our website design also is really good on mobile.
There you go. And up in the right-hand corner, you can click on Store, then click on the playmat, and give us your money.
Yep.
In exchange, you will get a playmat.
Yep.
Not just any playmat, our playmat.
Which you can also see tons of pictures of when you go and look at it.
Yes.
We posted one on Twitter, but we're going to have like more, couple angles, 3D mock-up, all that stuff. So.
Yep. So it includes hella technology, which is we printed the turn sequence across the top of the mat.
Did.
Minds will be blown.
For such a simple thing. It really was, though.
Yeah. So we had, when I brought it to our LGS and I was like, hey, here's our playmat. And I put the turn sequence across the top. And people were like, "Bah?"
Yep.
Somebody asked me if that would be considered outside information. And I was like,
it was close.
And I was like, I don't think so.
It is not. I got a few judge rulings when we mentioned it. We went through this because that was another concern. One of the playmats that I wanted and still want is teetering too close to outside assistance. I still want that how to play aggro flowchart. But it's a complete joke. Like, you know, are your creatures sideways? No. Is their board state better than yours? Yes. Hashtag YOLO swag money. Turn them sideways. Like, stuff like that.
Yep.
Mama didn't raise no quitter.
That's true. That's true.
And so that's all I wanted in my how to play aggro flowchart. But because it may actually like mask, there are decisions in there. It's really close. And because we can't give you a product that you might not be able to use all the time,
right? We
just went for the really awesome, colorful banner thing that we have that kind of harkens back to the original Lore When Thoughtseize art.
Yep. So here's the important part about having the play sequence on the mat is you can put like a die on it and it will, and you can use that as a reminder, like a stop in Magic Online, but in real life Magic.
Yeah.
In Magic, the real lifening. Magic the Gathering offline. So there's a thing that happens that trips people up sometimes, which is if you say move to combat, that is by the rules a shortcut that skips the entire begin combat phase or begin combat step and goes right to declare attacks. So if you have effects that you want to do before you declare attacks and you say move to attacks and then try and do them, your opponent can judge call you and you will lose that judge call even if you appeal it to the head judge, because that's what that means.
Yep.
But if you have a die on begin combat and you say, you can even say,
you just be like, go here.
Go to begin combat, then that wouldn't happen.
Right.
And you wouldn't have to have that judge call, lose that judge call.
Right.
And in the case of one of our friends, lose that game. Womp womp.
Very unfortunate.
Sorry, bro. So we will save you from yourself. It will instantly make you a better player. And we guarantee that it will make you more attractive.
I'm pretty sure we can do that, actually.
I mean, it's essentially what we're selling you is a magic carpet.
Yeah.
So
very tiny, though. You have to scrunch up if you want to fly anywhere safely.
Yep. You have your kids ride it.
Right.
I mean, mine definitely is going to.
Yeah.
We're starting the pre-orders now. We're going to run the pre-order for about 3 weeks just to kind of give people enough of a chance to know that it's out there.
Yep. We can bother you in our next podcast about it still.
Realize that they don't have to telegraph their Vendilion clicks anymore.
Yeah.
Because you can just put a die on the draw step. Mm-hmm. And then you don't have to say, I have effects on your draw step, so that they know that you're about to click them. Yep. You can just put it there, and then after they untap, you go, hold on. Stop here. Click you.
Subtly different.
Well, it's different, but I think there's a different impact in how a person might play, because obviously, like, you want it to happen in their draw step.
Yep.
So you have to say something. You can't just like throw the card at them after they untap. You have to actually stop them.
I mean, it does have flying. You could.
The physical challenge related cards are no longer part of Modern Magic. So, R.I.P. Chaos Orb. The mats are pretty quick. They only take a couple days to produce, and about a business week to ship. So if we get them in,
I think the hope was to get the order to Inked Gaming by like May 30th.
Yep.
Or over that weekend, so they have it waiting for them Monday morning, May 30th. And they should be on their way to us by the end of that week.
Yep.
We should get them sometime May 8th, May 9th at the latest, and then we can start boxing them up and shipping them out.
Do you mean June?
June. It is May currently.
Yep.
Yep. I do mean June.
Replace all of those things after the discussion of the 30th with June instead of May.
Next month.
There you go.
And hopefully then, so we get them 8th or 9th. That's like a Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
We can attack it that weekend and the early week after that and get them out the following week. Just get them all picked up and out. And that means for most people in the U.S., you should get it no later than May 18th-ish. So basically about 3 weeks from when the pre-order area ends. I don't know international shipping well enough to give any sort of estimate there.
To most places that are not France, Italy, or Brazil, it's probably 6 days first class, like 6 to 8 days.
All right.
The French Postal Service is notorious for going on strike a lot, so their postal service is surprisingly unreliable.
Okay.
The Italian Postal Service, in my experience, has a somewhat lackadaisical view on delivery windows.
Sure.
And the Brazilian Postal Service, I've just had a lot of problems with them. Like I've been selling stuff internationally for 20 plus years, and every time I see Brazil, I'm like, oh boy. And then don't get me wrong, I love the Brazilian people.
Right.
But man, that postal service, I don't know what they're doing. Who knows? Anyways, go to our website, TurnOneThoughtseize,
TurnOneThoughtseize.com. All spelled out. And click on store, click on playmat, give us dollars. We give you playmats. Yeah.
And tell your friends.
Yep. And while you're there, check out the website.
Yeah.
Because it's actually nothing like super, super fancy, but it just presents all of our content all in one place.
Yep.
And it's easy to get around and just see everything. So
it's the grand unified theory of TurnOneThoughtseize.
Yeah. And we have the ability to always, like, we could even post articles on there if we wanted. I know, right?
Man.
If we just wanted to post something longer than 140 characters.
Never
it's
happened.
Insane. It's not. We're just going to tweet on there.
There you go. That is correct.
But yeah, so that's all up and running.
So you can also just sort of recap some of the things that you can already do. We've been uploading the newest shows and sort of slogging through the backlog to get them up onto YouTube in audio form. Yeah. Because we do have we've got our hardcore 50-ish listeners.
We're up to like over 100.
What?
Just like consistent YouTube listeners.
Baller.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend.
Yeah. For the real hardcore people are the 3% that watch on TVs.
Nice.
Because they have just like the highest video completion rate of anyone.
Huh.
It's also fascinating that YouTube just gives you all of those analytics. It's so great.
Deep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it tags through like Roku and stuff like that, because I'm sure, because I do that. It sometimes.
Does. It's any smart TV, any streaming box, but it separates game consoles. Wow. So a game console is different than a TV, in which case you can use any set-top box.
That is granular.
Yeah. I don't know. People at Google, they got a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, I guess. So we're also going to start chopping up into segment topics, so that if you want to hear us talk about some specific thing, you don't have to either A, listen to the rest of it that you don't want to listen to, which is mysterious to me, obviously. Who doesn't want to listen to like a 90-plus minute podcast just to hear the 10 minutes that they care about?
But yeah, we're hoping to get a video version of the podcast to do those segments, so you have something to watch.
Right.
I mean, it's a way to present the content we're already doing without bogging us down with too much extra editing work.
Right.
And so the content's out there for anyone who wants to view it.
Yep. So we're still obviously going to have the full episodes. So if that's your jam will remain unchanged.
Yep.
It's just there will be peanut butter for people who like peanut butter and jam instead of just jam.
Or just peanut butter.
That's madness, though.
I've only actually had like 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in my life. My first one was when I was 19.
Did you wake up in a coma afterwards?
No. I just I don't know. I mentioned it to a friend. I was picking her up, and she just had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I ate it in my car. It was all right. It was fine. I don't know.
Someday when you have kids, and you go, "What do you want for dinner?" and they say peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you're like, "Well, we have all this other stuff that I spent a lot of time working on to eat."
No, I don't.
And they go, "I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." Your attitude will change.
No, I don't. I didn't know. I don't. That's the thing. I don't have an attitude about it. It's just they're fine. It's whatever. I just never ate them as a kid. It's not because I didn't like it. I liked peanut butter. Jam and jelly was all right. After I got diabetes, it was a little bit less worse because there's lots of sugar in jam.
Let
me tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
They make sugar-free jelly and stuff, but I don't know. I don't know. Didn't need it.
You're a mystery wrapped in enigma. I don't that's borderline un-American.
People have mentioned that before. This has come up before, and then especially once you hit high school, teenage years, and you're just telling people yeah, I've never had a peanut butter, because like I said, I didn't eat one until I was 19, so I went all through high school being yeah, I've never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. People going what?
I don't know why somebody didn't just tackle you and shove in your face.
Because it's not a big deal. That's a weird thing. It's just I never cared that much.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't know each other back then, because you would have had me.
I think what fascinates me more are the people who are picky about it. Some people are oh, well, I can't have crust on my peanut butter and jelly. And I remember always seeing the ads for the Smucker's mini ones, the crustless things, and just I didn't get that either. And it's there's different types of bread you can put it on, and just it's just peanut butter and jelly in between pieces of bread. I didn't know.
Well, no, it's crunchy peanut butter with potato bread.
But see, someone else is going to disagree with that.
Well, that person is wrong.
But they're going to think
you
you're
can
wrong.
have
no.
You
why
can
are
have
people
an opinion.
So political about
you can
peanut
have
butter
an
and jelly?
opinion, but if your opinion is anything other than chunky peanut butter on potato bread, it's wrong. Right? It's there's that rapper that believes that the world is flat. That's his opinion, but he is objectively wrong.
I don't even remember what rapper that was.
It was B.O.B.
Okay. God. I still like a lot of his stuff, though.
You sure it's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I just...
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways.
I get what you're saying.
So, man, them pros, they got shanked and then unshanked in fairly short order.
And that's kind of the problem. You can never really be unshanked, can you?
No. You can remove the shank. You can put stitches on it.
Yeah. And that's essentially what they've done.
That's literally, basically what happened. They were hold still. We're going to stab you. And then they're we changed our minds. We're going to take the knife out and get you to a hospital.
Yeah. we realized everyone caught us stabbing you, so
Right.
we're gonna apologize and just be like, oh no, we found this in you.
Yeah. They tried to stab somebody in what they thought was an alley, which turned out to be the Superdome.
Yep.
And, yeah. So, for those of you who were either A, living under a rock, or B, don't care, both of which are
Yeah, this topic was on
valid,
the podcast for like last week when it was much more relevant,
Yeah,
so we'll
it was-
keep this one short.
basically, Wizards attempted to lessen the Platinum Pro benefits by a fairly significant amount. They basically dropped everything like 90%.
Yep.
And, for many people that, are platinum grinders who are really trying to get there, it was a literal dream crush.
Yep.
Because if you are a Platinum Pro and you travel around, you go to every GP and every Pro Tour, you make quote unquote about probably $12,000.
Well, so you get $12,000 in appearance fees from Pro Tours,
Right.
by itself. So if you're Platinum level Pro.
Yep.
So, and then any prize. Obviously, if you're a Platinum level Pro and you're going to all these tournaments, you gotta
Do well.
do well at least one of them, right? So you have some sort of prize money coming in,
Right.
but it's still a very meager.
Right. And it does include hotel and airfare, which is, something, especially, overseas, or if you're,
Yeah.
like Pro Tour Honolulu, there's not a cheap hotel in the area that I can think of, right? Like,
No, and some people rent houses.
yeah, it's like sleep on the beach, hope your deck doesn't wash away, or stay in an $800 a night, like Westin by the Sea,
right.
or whatever. Full disclosure, never been to Hawaii. Don't know if there's a Westin by the Sea. There probably is. The Hall of Fame players got their thing cut. They used to get a $1,500 appearance fee at every Pro Tour, and it got cut down to just one Pro Tour per year, which is whatever. They don't rely on that in
Most
the way
of
that
yeah.
like a career Platinum Pro does.
Most of these Hall of Fame players are fine.
Yeah.
Right? And most of them were even like, yeah, you can cut our pay, that's fine. So that one wasn't as bad. And it was, I see what they're doing, and I kind of like the direction they went with it. They were only paying the Hall of Fame members to go to the Pro Tour that inducts new Hall of Fame members.
Oh,
So
right.
that way you kind of push people to be there for it.
Yep.
Which is good. I actually really do like that. I hope they do continue to incentivize getting the Hall of Fame players there. That'd be really nice. But most of them were fine with the money cut there.
Yep. And so then the world exploded.
Yeah.
This really and truly only directly affects currently about 30-ish people who are current Platinum Pros that would have this go into effect this year. Basically, they would be getting,
Well, anyone who would have gotten Platinum
Right.
this season. So we don't really know. Saying 100 people is probably overshooting it.
Yeah.
Including the people that are Platinum now, will be Platinum next year, and would have gotten the benefits, and the people grinding right now
Yep.
to get the benefits next season. So
the biggest thing, aside from the actual drastic dollar amount, was that it was originally supposed to take effect for this season.
Yeah.
Meaning that people who had spent the past 4 months flying all around the country / world.
Well, last 3 quarters
That's right.
of a year too, because I think the season start in the summer.
Okay.
It was revolved around the Corsa. I think someone can probably correct me on that, but I thought that was how it worked.
Regardless of which,
Yeah,
it was a huge mess. And while the world was exploding, everyone in Wizards went into hiding on Twitter.
Yep.
Like, I didn't see a post from anyone.
Yeah.
And then it took them, I think, maybe 3 or 4 days to kind of figure out what they were going to do.
Right.
And they came out and they were like, hey, buddy, sorry we did this thing, so we're going to change it mostly. And so they reversed the rewards. Basically, the rewards got reinstated, and the platinum rewards, I think the Hall of Fame things went away still.
I don't remember, but I think the big thing is they reinstated the rewards for what they originally promised, and they said they were going to have a new announcement before next season that they will take into account professional player opinions for.
Right.
So odds are they are going to revoke it when the time comes, but at least they didn't screw over the people who are currently in the process of working their way to platinum.
Right. The important thing for everyone else, which is right, like 99.999% of people that play Magic, is it's a consumer confidence issue, because doing things like this says to customers, we're just going to do whatever we want whenever we want.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's literally no way that they could have come to this decision and been like, this is a good plan.
But they did. Like, it crossed how many people's desks?
Well, they may have. That's the problem, though. We don't know. It could have been a Hasbro mandate. You know, right now you're spending X dollars. You need to spend X dollars minus 90%. Make it happen.
No, it went across several people's desks, because even, I think, Helen, I forget how to pronounce her last name.
Lean.
That was the other thing. Some of the official statements that came off right at the beginning of the aftermath were awful. But there were other statements that were just like, we thought this was for the best. Like, we thought this was going to help. And several statements like that. And other people were also making statements like that.
Sure.
So that means some level of thinking was had, assumably by more than one person. I don't think so, because some people were just like, oh, the new president came in and wanted to start changing things, and I don't think that's what happened. This doesn't feel like, because the president only came in how long before this announcement?
Yeah,
that's not the type of change you make your first 2 weeks on the job. I don't think that's what happened.
I mean, I've had managers like that.
Sure,
but they don't. Yeah.
So, regardless, for the time being, right now,
it's mostly fixed.
The bigger aspect, and probably only one of the bigger real reason why we're talking about it right now, is because this does actually give us a little bit of insight as to what Wizards thinks the future of Magic is, especially at the professional level.
Right.
By taking this money, and the reason they did it was because they wanted a bigger prize pool for World Championships.
Right.
They want to have one really big prize purse tournament to compete with esports. Right. And they think that is the right way to go, which doesn't give us anything concrete, but it does kind of show where their head is at. Right. And I think that's the really interesting thing, and I don't know if it's good.
The problem with esports versus Magic is, like, you could sit down, you could put somebody in front of a game of League of Legends, and even though it is objectively boring, they will at least be able to understand what is happening.
I disagree, even from that point. Honestly, so I think all MOBAs are actually a very difficult concept to grasp for someone that hasn't played one before. And I've seen this firsthand. Even hardcore, nerdy video game people who haven't played a MOBA, even if they have played RTSs, who haven't played a MOBA, don't get League or the one Blizzards did, Heroes of the Storm.
Sure.
They try to sit down and watch it, and to me, and I played the original Dota for a hot second. I didn't get that much into League. League is very similar to Magic, I think, and they're both kind of hard to watch unless you're already enfranchised.
At least there's a visual component that is missing from Magic, which is if I shoot an arrow at somebody in League of Legends, a red -50 pops up over their head. So you're like, oh, I did something, and then something happened, and I was able to physically see that.
That's definitely true.
You know, having...
It's much more visually pleasing, for sure.
Now, I do think that there is a way... I actually wrote down a list of like the 5 things that would actually... Of 5 things that would actually make Magic coverage work.
Holograms.
No. It's not holograms. Sorry.
That's unfortunate.
But it requires a lot of production. I mean, a lot of production. Yep. You know, it really is more like poker.
Yep.
And that's not a bad thing. Because if you watch the World Series of Poker, I mean, what's happening, right? They are 6 people playing out of a single 52-card deck.
Yeah.
At its core, there's not much happening.
No, and it's very similar to Magic, too, in the fact that the World Series of Poker is a very large tournament most of the time. It's not those 6 people, but like Magic, large tournament with a few hundred people, you focus in at 6 at a time. Right. In Magic's case, 8. And I think that's where the big problem is, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. They want to compare themselves to esports. I don't think that's the right direction, because you're losing all of the advantages that Magic has, what makes Magic different. Right. And instead of trying to compare yourself to something, you're not going to be better than League of Legends or Hearthstone at being an online game or a game like those. Right. Instead, sell yourself as something different, make your coverage more like the World Series of Poker.
Right. And you know, one of the things that I had on my list of, you know, how to make coverage work was putting up, you know, percentages like they do in world, you know, in poker coverage. Sure. They'll show the person's hand and then they'll say, okay, they're 70% to do this if XYZ happens. So the equivalent would be, you go, okay, well, they need to draw a removal spell to take care of that Tarmogoyf. Yeah. There's 7 removal spells in their deck. There's 40 cards left. Yeah. So they're X% to draw a removal spell off the top. And so that way, even somebody who's watching with minimal explanation, you can say, they need to take care of this thing that's going to kill them. The way they do that is with something called a removal spell. Right. There's a 13% chance that the next card that they draw is going to be that removal spell.
And then can they do it?
Right.
It is a lot of production work.
It's a ton. It requires...
And just that little feature that only adds a 2-digit number it does definitely help. I don't know how much it helps. That's a point up for debate. I don't know.
Well, because then you run a tape delay at that point.
Sure.
And then, but the tape delay allows you to have enough time to, you know, talk out a line of play or
they should be doing the tape delay anyway, just to make sure that they're like, and this is the other thing too, how are they going to properly handle this when they can't handle what they're already doing? Like the bumpers in between segments are still always off time. The camera never cuts. Like whoever's directing, I don't know. And I don't know if it's even their fault. It might not be. It might just be like, I don't know who the production staff for this is. Is it like volunteers? I doubt they have a complete professional crew 100%. Obviously some people are like, they have professional riggers, they have things like that. Yep. But
those could be union guys on the site though.
Yeah.
It depends on where they hold it.
Yep.
Because it varies from state to state.
It does.
Hashtag used to be in television. So yeah, I mean, tape delay is definitely part of it. Having, you can't necessarily do play by play in the same way because it's not as meaningful, but you'd have to do card percentages, you would have to do, card images, and then use that to say, okay, if you basically talk out the decision tree, right?
Yep.
If he draws the removal spell now, then, can take care of this threat and then build out their board. If she doesn't, draw another threat, then you've got 2 turns left to do XYZ, whatever, achieve your goal. But you can explain it in terms that someone who's just watching would understand, right? The game has a goal. Here's how you achieve that goal.
Right.
These are the conditions under which this person will achieve that goal. Oh, they didn't get it. Or, oh, it was a miracle rip. Look at that. Ah! Yeah. Right? Like, people understand odds.
They do. And that's kind of thing. Like, we have these moments, but you have to understand Magic to get the moment. To just your average onlooker that hasn't played Magic before or only knows the basic rules of Magic, is just like everyone screaming and I don't know why.
Right.
Like, I know something important just happened, but I don't know what it was.
It's like me watching football.
Sure.
I'm like, who's yelling? Why are they yelling?
They're all yelling.
Why do I care?
Probably shouldn't.
I don't.
They're yelling because they feel like it's important.
Sure.
I don't really yell at football. It's fine.
Sure. I mean, some people... Everybody's got their thing.
Yep.
So those are just a couple of the things, and for a modest fee, I would happily set up that production.
Right. It's also just like one thing that I wonder is, so we have this new president at WotC for Magic that
I like to refer to him as El Jefe.
It's Cinco de Mayo.
America's second most racist holiday. Maybe third.
Maybe
third. Thanksgiving, Columbus Day, and then Cinco de Mayo, probably.
Yeah. The off-the-boat Irish guy at my work got in like 2 giant boxes of tacos and a case of Corona. Just to, yeah. It really is.
Really drive it home.
I just really, I guess. Like, I don't know.
There was a Taco Bell.
He does a lot of good holidays, though.
There was a Taco Bell filter on Snapchat today that turned you into a giant taco, which was like,
oh God,
2 notches better than the Bob Marley overlay that they had on April 20th.
That was awful.
Which was like, I hope somebody lost their job
I
because
hope so.
of that. Like, that person should have to be like on monster.com right now.
Yeah.
Being like, oh man, you know what I shouldn't have done? Bob Marley overlay.
So bad. They're just desperate at this point. It's but yeah. So what I was saying, so we have this new president,
El Jefe,
who has a lot of digital product experience.
Yes.
They have announced to stockholders they are working on a new digital platform for Magic.
Sure.
When they roll this out, it's probably going to be competing with League of Legends and Hearthstone and things like that.
Well, probably Hearthstone, probably not League of Legends.
Well, it's the same market, though. They think it's the same. That's the other problem. I think a lot of people do.
You can't play League of Legends on a telephone.
Sure. I don't know if it'll come to mobile. I don't think there's any way. Magic is inherently more difficult to put on something like a phone or a tablet, and I don't think they're just making a deeper version of Duels of the Planeswalkers. I feel like it's something more in the middle of Magic Online and Duels. I don't know if you can get the full Magic Online experience on a tablet or a cell phone. I just don't think it's possible. Like, the way that you, or at least not well. It's not going to do it well.
And does Magic Online do it well?
No.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying.
So
like, they need to scale it back
if that's where we're starting from,
I know.
Then,
there was a new video on Tolarian Community College, which I thought was fantastic, just because of even the title of it. 40 small ways you can improve Magic Online. And even he started the video with, I was expecting this to be like an in-depth look at like 5 things, but I put it out on the internet and got hundreds of responses. So I picked the top 40 to make this video shorter.
Right.
Just like, jeez. And when you think about it, it's true, though. There are a lot of little nitpicky things about Magic Online. But regardless, what I want to know is, are they ever going to go to a tournament besides the Community Cup that is exclusively on the internet using some sort of computing platform of Magic instead of an in-person Pro Tour?
I mean, they might try.
And that's what I'm also wondering. That's something that I've definitely been thinking about. Obviously, there are advantages and disadvantages.
Sure.
They need to actually make a working Magic Online client first.
Right. Well, that's, they couldn't. It's very hard, and they're already running into this with the mocks.
Yep.
There are cards that are being used in the mocks that do not work properly.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Mersaperion?
Yeah. I mean,
just all of them.
Wall of Roots.
Wall of Roots.
I
think Wall of Roots was acting disfavorably, though, wasn't it?
I don't know. If anybody wants to know what's wrong with Wall of Roots on Magic Online, you can tweet at Jeff Hooland, and he will let you know what is wrong with Wall of Roots.
I'm sure he'd really enjoy that.
Well, and
I think he'd enjoy everyone tweeting at him.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't be a jerk about it. I mean, if you have an honest question, because I don't know what the actual issue is. So, anyways, make it more like poker.
Yeah.
Like I said, if anybody out there wants to revolutionize the Magic coverage game, you can get at us and we will explain how to do it.
Just as long as they don't want to do that Pro Tour for Modern.
Bum, bum, bum. There is no Modern Pro Tour, Billy.
Oh, no.
No, it's fine. Who cares?
I don't know. I mean, Paulo probably did somersaults.
Probably.
For the, half hour that this was announced before they announced the Platinum Pros thing.
Yeah.
It was just completely buried. It's no Modern Pro Tour. And just did 3 backflips and was like, oh no, my money.
Yeah. Oh no, my living.
This is so much more important.
Yeah. So they canceled the Modern Pro Tour, which basically means that Modern will no longer be a Pro Tour format. They are going to use the Pro Tour for what it is designed for, which is to promote the current set.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. It means no more shakeup bans. Probably means more unbans.
Yeah, they can be much more aggressive about that. And it's not like coverage is going away. Star City Games does arguably better coverage than Wizards. And
yeah, I think it's something like a half or 3/4 of the events that are coming up in the next 6 months to a year are Modern.
The new season of Star City Games opens is heavily Modern.
Yes.
And they're doing it on purpose because people want to play it, people want to watch it, and it helps move their inventory.
Right, exactly.
For the same reasons why Wizards needs to have standard Pro Tours and draft environments to sell packs.
Right.
Star City Games needs Modern and Legacy to sell singles.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Yes. It incentivizes everybody to do the best job that they can to promote the thing that benefits them the most.
Yep.
That's a perfect alignment of goals and objectives. Just bam.
Absolutely.
So
oh man, even the New Jersey Invitational /Open is Modern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
#YOLO.
I'm just looking at close ones. That one's end-ish of August.
Really?
Yes, August 19th to 21st.
Why am I flying out to stupid Indianapolis?
Why are you flying out to stupid Indianapolis?
Oh, I'm going to hang out with Chris.
Oh, is that this weekend? Next weekend? They have an Open. That's Modern.
I think it's a GP. It's GP Indianapolis.
Gotcha.
I mean, I hope it's the thing that I was planning on going to is not next weekend because I don't have a plane ticket. So that would be tough.
Yeah.
But the good news is the plane tickets are super cheap. It's like $200 round trip.
Yeah, who else is going to Indianapolis?
Exactly. So it's great. Everything's great. We won't get to see people at the Pro Tour, like pro players playing Pro-ly at Modern at the Pro Tour. We will just have to see them playing Modern at all of these other events.
Right. I mean, like, as much as I love watching Craig Wesco jam Hate Bears every single Modern Pro Tour, I don't know. I don't need it in my life. It's okay.
I mean, he's still going to be doing it, just me doing it somewhere else.
I mean, maybe, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, it's also weird because now you're going to have a Modern format that's actually super enjoyable to play. With Modern format the way it is right now, with looking at these early tournaments, the previous Classic, 8 different decks in top 8. In the Open that just happened, 10 different archetypes in the top 16.
Yep.
The duplicates were only like Abzan, Company, Jund, and Infect.
Yeah. And it's because those people already had those decks.
Yeah.
And just like playing them.
Yeah. And there's still Death Shadows guy, which is going to be a thing at every tournament now.
Yeah.
Like, just the random guy that always top 8s with Death Shadow aggro. Like, more power to you.
Sometimes
That's
you
awesome.
just get them.
Yeah. So, I mean...
There was somebody playing Soratami Ascendant, that flip thing.
The one that counters every first spell people play?
Yup.
Why?
Because why not?
I
like
don't know.
you play
like a real card.
You play it on turn 2.
That's true.
And then you go Mishra's Bauble, Taxiing Probe, Gut Shot. You flip it. Let's play some Magic.
Where was this?
It was in a league.
Okay.
A while
All right.
ago.
I was like, someone built this in paper and went to like spent money to. Okay, that's fine. But no, like so even the early Magic Online results from leagues and whatnot have been really diverse and sweet. Just
Jund is good again.
Jund is good again, which is cool. Sort of. I mean, I love playing Jund. My problem is like my tournaments with Jund are either completely on or completely off.
Sure.
There's never an in-between for me, and it stinks. I either like 0-2 drop or just like double draw in the top 8. Except for that one time.
Oh, is that the one we played in?
Yeah. The one where you were my only loss in Swiss.
Yep.
And it wasn't even a bad matchup for me. I just multiplied twice.
Yup.
And I was just like, why? Because, yeah, you were on Zoo, but
Yes.
it was like halfway in between Big Zoo and Little Zoo.
Yep.
So it's just
I was
like
playing medium Zoo.
like that was the version that was running like all 4 tournament, like it's just everything interacted with your deck, and it just.
Yep. And I was just like, Woolly Thoktar. Bam.
It's like, well, sometimes you get Woolly Thoktar.
Yeah.
The value.
It's clock, man.
It is. It really is.
5 powers of clock. So there are, in the tier system, right, which is what people normally use to sort of determine what is playable, so normally what is optimal, I guess, would be considered tier 1. What is playable is tier 2, and then what is legal is like turn 3 or lower.
That's like the difficult thing, because with the way Modern is right now, with these early results, the tier system barely even functions for it.
Yeah.
Because there are so many decks that are competitive and could, like, the tier 2 list, if you were to do this correctly, there are so many decks that quality-wise are tier 2 or better, but cannot be considered tier 2 because the tier system is also about popularity.
Right.
And that's really the thing. So when you start looking on websites and other just postings of data and they list tier 1, tier 2, just know that if a deck that you're looking at isn't up there, that doesn't mean it's not competitive. It means it's not showing up in large numbers. Right.
Unless it's Taking Turns deck, which is a waste of your life and money.
think it came
everyone's
in
time.
31st.
Yep.
In the open.
Sounds
Mono
about
blue
right.
turns. Yep.
Sounds about right.
Means they went X and 3 or something. This is an open. That means they made money on this.
Hey, you know what? If your goal is 30th place, go out and put that deck together.
Thassa win cons. And Parth Watervale.
If your goal is 30th place, go out and put that deck together. But if it's not, you can spend the like $800+ to buy a good deck that you can top 8 with instead of scratching your way into the top 32.
Yup.
Because what that means is they made top 32 on breakers.
Yes, that is what happened. Or you could take that money and buy like 2 Death Shadow aggro lists and give one to a friend.
Yeah.
Then you could have 2 Death Shadow guys in a tournament.
Yeah.
Because never more than one person is going to show up with that deck, which is probably incorrect. It's a really fun deck.
It's super fun
People
deck.
should play it.
I have all the stuff for it.
It's fairly budget friendly. Like the problem is you need a lot of like the mana base.
The mana base is harsh.
is really harsh. So you can get away with cons fetches, but
the problem is it's a Jund mana base, which is like basically all Zendikar fetches and then Bloodstained Mires.
Right, you can get away with Bloodstained Mire and Wooded Foothill and then add 2 Windswept Heaths in and then just have a lot of shocks because you don't care about your life total.
Yeah.
So you can get away with it. It's not the worst.
But you can it's that, or you can run 8 fast lands.
Yeah, I don't know. With Steplinks, a lot of the versions run Steplinks, so you want like 10 to 12 fetches.
Yep.
You can run 12 cons fetches and still operate as long as like you only have 1 or 2 basic lands and the rest shocks. Yeah. But that's one too. So we have our kind of like tiers written down ish. Just backtracking a little bit. Top 3 decks of SCG states were Burn, Scapeshift, and Jund, which is that's like your perfect triangle, right? Like that's your mid-range control and aggro right there. They all did well. Yep. That's a good sign of a healthy format. Beyond that, so looking at numbers and then just kind of where our heads are at, we can tell you our tier 1, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Really, the top of the format is pretty stable with Burn, Jund, Affinity, Abzan, Coco, and Infect. If you have any of those decks and you go to a tournament, you should feel confident.
Right.
If you play correctly, build your sideboard correctly, you should do well.
Yeah, the sideboard right now, I think, is most important in Affinity because there are still probably a couple of months worth of time where people are going to be overreacting to Thopter Sword.
Yeah.
So they really, really need to figure out how they're going to deal with the extra hate. You know, people may have previously been packing 3 to 5 pieces, and now they're probably packing like 4 to 7 pieces that will hit them either directly or indirectly. So I feel like if you are a longtime Affinity player, you probably don't need to make any changes to your main deck, but your sideboard probably really needs some overhaul.
Depending on how, because one of the flex slots that goes back and forth a lot is debating between Steel Overseer and Master of Ethereum, which are very big game. Also, Etch Champion, if you started trimming, that's obviously going to be a little bit better in the format right now.
Yep.
Because one of the best cards, like if Jund is really big, they have Ancient Grudge.
Yep.
And Burn has Destructive Revelry. Mm-hmm. You don't really have to worry about a ton of board wipes from Burn, and Jund does have a lot, but you can take precautions against it. And the other decks, I don't know. I think Master of Ethereum is probably better right now than it has been in the past.
I would say.
Steel Overseer is a little slow, but it's going to be matchup dependent. So probably have some sort of mix there.
Yep. Or you can do what I think everybody should already be doing, which is you take out the Etch Champions and you put in the X4 from BFZ, that it's X4 where X is the number of colorless creatures you control.
Isn't that like a red creature?
Yeah. Well, no, it's two in a red, devoid. It comes stock with trample. It's 4 toughness. Like, you slap a cranial plating on that.
Well, the problem with that is it dies to, like, the matchups where Etch Champion's good, you don't want to take Etch Champion out for that.
But if you're already cutting Etch Champions, like...
You might not be... Like, that's the thing. I think if you were previously, you don't anymore. Because if you can stick, like, Darksteel Citadel, Springleaf Drum, Etch Champion against Jund, they have to now waste, like, an Abrupt Decay on a Springleaf Drum, which is not a 4 of anymore. It's a 3 of in a lot of lists.
Yeah.
So they have to Abrupt Decay your Springleaf Drum, and then they can kill Etch Champion if you don't have any other artifacts. So Etch Champion, I think, is actually better than it was a little bit, and Master of Ethereum, kind of very similar.
Vile
I think
Aggregate, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Vile Aggregate. I think it's better to have Etch Champions Master of Ethereums than Steel Overseer right now.
Yeah.
Is really the... But I'm not a hardcore Affinity player.
Yeah. Also, bring back Frogmite. It's just good. Frogmites for value.
So besides that...
Somebody register a Broodstar.
Why?
Because it's awesome.
Oh, are you saying someone did?
No, someone should.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
So we also have our kind of like tier 2-ish list, which once again, this is heavily influenced by popularity, not by deck quality.
Right.
So this is where you'd have your Scapeshift, Grixis Midrange, Jeskai Flash, Bushwhacker Zoo, and Red-Green Tron.
That Red-Green Tron, man.
It's still good. Like,
ban Ancient Stirrings.
The deck's probably fine now. It doesn't have the inevitability it did against control decks, which I think
does.
was really
You just run Conduit of Ruin now.
Well, no, but that's the thing. You don't. Like, you're okay.
Well, no, but you do, in the sense that is what people have been playing against me and Magic Online, and they're like, oh, darn, lost Ivugan.
That's because they
Conduit of Ruin, Ulamog, you lose. And I'm just like, oh, all right.
Cool. Well, most of them are cutting the Emrakul's altogether.
Sure. You don't need it.
Well, the reason people are still playing Conduit of Ruin is because, like, a professional player hasn't played the deck yet, but Joe Lissette just came in second, so copy his list, which is the correct way to do it, and not play Conduit of Ruin, and play Sanctum of Ugin.
Sure.
Which lets you cast any of your stuff, any of your Planeswalkers, and then the big thing, World Breaker.
Oh, yeah.
You can no longer just Eye of Ugin to tutor up endless Wormcoil engines. World Breaker is the way that you now have inevitability against control decks, and right. In that, so the Grixis, Jund, Jeskai, you have inevitability with World Breaker. Now you just can't tutor it, but you have enough things.
Right.
Like, you're okay. So instead of the 70-30% matchup you used to have against Jund, now it's closer to 60-40, but you're still heavily favored. Like, right. Red-Green Tron is fine. I think it did get a nerf a little bit, but it needed that nerf. And now we're okay.
Yep.
Good deck to play.
Yes, it is very good. And then, of course, the spicy tier.
Oh, and I gotta cover any of the other decks. I think it's important to mention that Scapeshift, Grixis Midrange, and Jeskai Flash are all blue decks, most of which don't run Ancestral Vision. There are a lot of
Grixis, I think, does.
Well, that's the thing. It really depends on the person.
Yeah,
is what I've kind of noticed.
Yeah.
Some Jeskai decks are kind of shaving them.
Yeah, because 3 cards on turn 5 does not matter often.
It really depends on the matchup. I think in Jeskai you do want Ancestral Vision, because in the Jund matchup, like, that's how you can outlive them.
Yeah.
Instead of these half mediocre mid range cards that aren't good against Jund. Lightning Helix doesn't do that much against Jund. It just doesn't. In Michael Major's list, he top 16 with Grixis Control. He ran 4 Serum Visions, 3 Ancestral Vision.
Sure.
Which is what... It's the place we're going to. Some people were just slamming out Serum Visions and slamming in Ancestral Vision. That definitely wasn't correct. And all of these blue-white decks just slamming it in with Gifts Ungiven and Thopter Sword combo are also probably not correct. We're not seeing any of that.
Yep.
What we're basically seeing is Ancestral Vision is a very fair card.
Yep.
Honestly, I was more on the skeptical side than most people, even though I wanted to see it unbanned.
Sure.
I was probably more in the camp of it might not be safe, and I've been pleasantly surprised at how little it has warped the format.
Mm-hmm.
I do like, and this metagame, all of the breakdowns we have just show it, and there are so many decks that are just really cool that have done well and started to do well. Unfortunately, we don't have like months of data at this point.
Right.
We're getting close to it, but we don't have it yet, so it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited to... what were some of the ones we have? We were going into it like the spicy tier.
Yep. My way to attack the paper metagame right now is going to be the Black-White Eldrazi Taxes list. And I alluded to it a little bit on Twitter, when I said if we're trying to next level the format, like how many levels deep do we need to go, right? Like if Jund is the best deck and Scapeshift is the best deck against Jund, do we then play the best deck against Scapeshift in an attempt to, sort of be able to run well against something that's better positioned in the metagame? And I think for my play style, for things that I like and things that I'm good at, the Eldrazi Taxes list I think is it, because it covers a lot of the things, right? Like if you are up against Scapeshift and they can't kill your Leonin Arbiter, guess what? They can't win the game.
Right. Especially when their backup plan is also Bring to Light.
Right.
And they're just running Silver Bullet extra win cons.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult with the Leonin Arbiter. And I think the real answer to that question is, so let's say let's say you want to attack Burn, Jund, and Scapeshift, and then just address Infect and Affinity with sideboard cards.
Sure.
If you do that, that's our entire Tier 1 list that we made before, adding Scapeshift to it.
Yep.
Which I think is fine. I think Scapeshift is going to be very popular because it's very, very good, and it replaces Twin in a way as that control deck that does have an inevitability to it. So I like having some deck like that in the format, and I think if that's your strategy, the Eldrazi Taxes has a good matchup against Scapeshift, or at least it can. Mm-hmm. It's fairly good. Before, it was not that good against Jund. Because, and it was all only iffy against Scapeshift, because while you're very good game 1, it gets much worse game 2 against Scapeshift. Mm-hmm. And against Jund, it's very draw dependent. If you're just Aether Vial into Thalia into something else, they will pay 2 mana for Lightning Bolt and 3 mana for Terminate. Right. You're not killing them fast enough.
Right.
And their creatures outclass yours from the start. Mm-hmm. And you're running an artifact which grows Tarmogoyf.
Right.
Which is actually a lot more relevant than you first think when they're running Abrupt Decay and Maelstrom Pulse.
Yep.
So with the Eldrazi added to Death and Taxes, I think we're at a point where you can go that extra level now where it's okay, because you're running the Displacers to blink things that are being targeted if you can. Mm-hmm. You get the Thought-Knot Seers, which are both going to take their best card, and also it's a 4/4, doesn't die to Bolt.
Yep, doesn't die to Abrupt Decay.
Doesn't die to Abrupt Decay. Like, it checks a lot of boxes, and sometimes Reality Smasher is a 1 or 2 of between main deck and sideboard.
The one that I'm going to run has 2 in the main, and, the card is a beast.
It is, yeah. And that's the thing. Now it has a much more reasonable matchup against Jund, and the just strategy of Ghost Quarter plus Path plus Arbiter to mana deny your 3 mana base opponent is still very good.
Yep.
Your matchup against things like Grixis and Jeskai are going to be very similar.
Right.
You're white, so you get Rest in Peace and Stony Silence. You should invest in Spellskites.
Right.
Your matchups against Affinity and Bogles get better if you invest in Spellskites. And now you're attacking so much of the metagame that is Eldrazi Taxes going to be on tier 2 because it's popular enough? It's close. It might. But it's an example of something that's not currently on any list of tiers.
Right.
But it's a very reasonable option.
Yeah. So that's my thing. And one of the things that pushed me in that direction even is the testing that I've been doing with the Esper Spirits deck that I'm working on Magic Online, where, normally against, like, my game 1 against Jund is awful.
Yep.
Because they're just like, oh, sweet 3/3,
right,
terminate, bolt your guy, and even, they use all the spot removal, and then I put out Geist of St. Traft, and they're like, oh, Liliana minus your,
Yeah.
So
if they don't discard it from your hand first.
Yeah. Which I will say, Bloodghast All-Star, because
No, it's true.
keeping him on the field with Geist of St. Traft against the Liliana is such a big deal.
Yep.
Because it's just like free. You're like, oh, Bloodghast. And also, they will often give it to you for free because they'll drop Liliana plus her. You discard your Bloodghast.
Yep.
And then...
And I even like just having a fetch land in the same way that Bogles will do it by having a green fetch to get Dryad Arbor.
Right.
You can do it with the fetch to get back Bloodghast in response to the Lily activation.
Yep. But now, because I chose to keep the sideboard sort of broad but tight, I bring in, like, I take out the Abzan and, like, some of the mana leaks.
Yep.
And bring in 3 Leyline of Sanctity and 3 Leyline of the Void.
Right.
And then my game 2 goes to, like, 90%.
Right.
Because they just can't do anything. Like, their deck doesn't work anymore. It's... So to take that conceptually and bring that over to a deck that also has, some very serious threats in it, and, other things that are going to impact their deck and other, sort of tier 1 and a half decks, and also I get to play Reality Smasher.
Yeah. I do like Rest in Peace a bit more in because you don't need Leyline of the Void because you're not running the Bloodghast and the Eldrazi Taxes, and Rest in Peace also does have the trigger when it comes into play. It exiles everything, which Leyline of the Void does not.
Yep.
So Leyline of the Void is obviously nice if you have it in your opener and get to put it into play for free, but if you don't, Rest in Peace will just clean things up exceptionally well.
Yeah. I the first version that I'm testing is running the Leylines in the main deck. Just for infinite process.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had very little problem. So I actually started playtesting this deck a while ago. Pretty much a week after the bans were announced and Eldrazi Temple tanked, I was able to pick up a playset on Magic Online, and I started with some lists. But I am running the Aether Vials. It's much closer to an original Death and Taxes list, which I've played before. I'm only running one Reality Smasher main deck. And I think... Oh, I didn't actually talk about it because that recording didn't happen. I was not as impressed with Displacer as a lot of other people have been. You can't abuse it, and you need a lot of mana to take advantage of it. So I definitely don't like Displacer in large quantities in decks that don't have Aether Vial. Because at least the advantage of that is on turn 4, you get to vial in Displacer and then activate it to do something, even if it's not much. The most relevant it's ever been was blinking Lingering Souls tokens so that I don't get grinded out by Lingering Souls tokens.
Sure.
You can do also funky things with Tidehowler Sculler.
Yep.
but you need a lot of setup for Displacer to be good. I definitely did not like Displacer as much as other cards in the deck. I wouldn't cut it, but I didn't like it as a 4 of.
Yeah, mine is running. I'm running 3 right now, but I'm also considering taking it in a little more of a blink direction, putting Restoration Angel in there.
Do you have enough to abuse with it though?
I mean, you can. I don't know yet.
Because that was my problem too. Like, you can blink Thought-Knot Seer.
Yep.
Which it leaves the battlefield, draws them a card, comes back in. If they drew a better card, you just get to take it and nothing happens. If they drew a blank, you get to take a second card. So it's not irrelevant. Like, Displacer does have a lot of situations where it's good. It's just that they are far and few between. So it's a lot of times it not necessarily win more. It just takes you from a position where your opponent can still crawl back into the game, and you stop that from happening with Displacer. And Displacer is very good against heavy removal decks if you can get it to stick and have mana up, which was always the difficulty. If you have a double Eldrazi Temple hand, Displacer is very good. But if you don't have the mana, and if your deck isn't running Aether Vial, then Displacer gets way worse.
Yeah, I'm not running the vials in the paper version, so that's why I'm trying the ley lines. I might try Blight Herders, just because if I'm going to focus more on processing, it's a better payoff.
Yep.
Plus I can blink Blight Herder.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's something.
That
right?
that gets good fast.
Yeah. And you take Flicker. I'm running Flicker Wisp as well.
Yeah, I have Flicker Wisps in there.
I think if you don't run Vial, Flicker Wisp gets like way worse, and you just go to 4 Displacers.
Yeah. So that's a direction.
Yeah.
Right. That I can sort of look at, and it changes some of the mid game decisions, but it still kind of maintains the core.
Right. I mean, at your core, you're still like a white taxing creature deck, right? Like you're still playing 4 Thalias, 4 Leonin Arbiters, and 4 Tidehauler Scullers to just mess up your opponent.
Yep.
And sometimes that just gets there. Yep. You're in white and black. You get to run Thoughtseizes and Path to Exiles and all this other hate. Like, no, very, very good core. And that's the thing. So here you have one of the benefits of Modern. You have this fringe-ish deck that's fairly good against the best decks in the format, and you can take it in a few different directions.
Yep. So that is, like I said, that is what I am working on for paper. Magic Online is pretty much Esper Spirits. I made a Sultai Delirium deck that's actually a lot of fun. We weren't actually
talking about what you're working on in paper. I think we were talking on the spicy tier. We're in that part of the episode.
Well, yeah, but I was segueing into what we're working on.
We gotta talk about Insolent Dredge.
Okay, we can talk about Insolent Dredge. Go ahead, run it.
So to continue with the yeah, we need you to end that other section of like Settle like segues somehow. Give me something to splice together.
Okay. So that's the direction that I'm taking it for my paper deck. So what else is in the spicy tier aside from Death Shadow Zoo? Because
we've talked about it, yeah. But man, Insolent Dredge, which is what I'm calling it because a lot of the decks so far, like the metagame websites, don't have a name for it.
Right. And
I think like it uses Insolent Neonate, which is a 1/1 for 1 from Shadows over Innistrad. Very unassuming, but 1/1 for 1 menace.
Yep.
With discard a card and sacrifice itself, draw a card. Which, in this Dredge deck, is just fantastic. Because you're always discarding for value.
Yep.
You can discard to draw and then just dredge. Like, It's great. But basically, all you ever wanted in this deck was an additional Faithless Looting.
Right.
And this is just baby Faithless Looting.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Yeah, so you go Mountain, this guy, discard Golgari Grave Troll, dredge 6. Let's play some Magic.
Hit all of your Vengevines.
Sure. Well, yeah, and that's the dream,
Cast
obviously.
your everything. My favorite part about this one list that I'm looking at right now is that it is technically 5 colors.
Yep.
All of them. Because it runs 4 Leyline of Sanctity on the board.
Why not?
But main deck, it's only 4 colors.
Sure.
3 Gravecrawlers, 4 of the new Insolent Neonates, 1 Golgari Thug, 4 Narcomoebas.
Oh.
Which also trigger your 4 Prized Amalgams.
Right.
4 Stinkweed Imps, 4 Vengevines, 4 Golgari Grave Trolls. And I guess, most importantly, 18 lands, all of which only tap for red or black. 2-color mana base for your 5-color deck.
Yep.
And your spells, already mentioned Faithless Looting, fantastic.
Sure.
Best card in Dredge.
Well.
Goblin Lore, 2 mana, draw for cards, and discard 3 cards at random.
Sure.
4 Burning Inquiry.
Oh, yeah, Burning Inquiry. Yep.
Yeah, each player draws 2 cards and discards 3 at random.
I got by that card
2
before.
Dark Blasts. And it's just, you're just throwing absolutely everything in the graveyard. You can't cast Golgari Grave Troll at all. You have no way to do it. You have no way to reanimate it. It's just in your graveyard.
Yep.
Dredging all the time.
Yep.
Which gets your Vengevines and your Prized Amalgams. I think that's the main combo. So you get Prized Amalgams and Narcomoeba.
Right.
So you get the Prized Amalgam into play, and then you can cast 2 Gravecrawlers and get back all your Vengevines.
Right.
So that's mainly the theory behind the deck. The sideboard is equally hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
3 Simian Spirit Guides.
Perfect.
Like you do.
Yep.
4 Leyline of Sanctity, we already mentioned. 4 Leyline of the Void, because, these rampant graveyard decks. And 4 Shatterstorms, because gotta be Affinity.
You certainly do.
Here's Shatterstorm's way cheaper than Damnation.
Yeah, it is.
You don't want to kill your own Vengevines and Gravecrawlers and stuff.
Nope,
Shatterstorm it is. So I think this deck's hilarious. Obviously, I think it can probably be tuned. I probably would want to play a version that can actually cast some of these spells.
Yes.
But I think it's awesome. I think Insolent Neonate is a great toy for dredge decks. I think it makes it... I think Insolent Neonate and Prized Amalgam make the decks much faster and also more resilient.
Yep.
It's kind of weird. The deck is obviously just so completely hosed by graveyard hate it doesn't matter.
Right.
But
they don't have it.
It's so much more faster, a little bit more consistent. Yeah. So I expect to see stuff like this.
Yeah. You have much better having 8 of what you really need, which is Faithless Looting, instead of 4.
And now you basically have kind of 12-ish. If you turn 1 Burning Inquiry, it's not as reliable, which is kind of the problem. But
it's close.
Yeah. But getting to choose is the real thing. If you have Blackleaf Cliffs, Insolent Neonate, and Golgari Grave Troll in your opening hand, you just snap that off.
Right.
It's all you've ever wanted.
Yes. Yep. No, there's a streamer that I really like called Magus of the Moon, who plays a lot of dredge. He's in Germany, I think. His streaming schedule just happens to line up with when I do chores on Sundays.
Sure.
So I clean the kitchen and watch him play dredge.
Nice.
And it's neat. The deck certainly does, and it, at least in the matches that I have watched him play, people don't seem to be running enough comprehensive graveyard hate where he's just getting totally blown out, you know, every game too. So
this is kind of like your problem. Some decks are running the Leyline of Voids and Rest in Peace, and a lot aren't.
Yep.
That's just how it is. Because a lot of the decks use the graveyard for value, and you can't run some of the best graveyard hate there is. Like in Jund and Grixis, Grixis decks it hasn't caught on with as much, but more Jund decks, at least locally, have finally caught on. Leyline of Void is your best option.
Mm-hmm.
Grixis can also just run it.
Yep.
But when you can't run things like Grafdigger's Cage, which used to be the go-to, because now you're nerfing your Snapcasters and everything. Like, just can't do it.
Yep. There you go.
Not to mention Thopter Foundry and Gifts Ungiven. Like, there's too many decks, and that's running white. Like, you should be able to run Rest in Peace, but they don't do it.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, because they want their Thopters.
Yep.
We're just going to start running Virulent Plague. It's like, yeah. Illness. Actually, I've been running Illness in the Ranks in Magic Online. I was also, there was, for like a hot minute, I had this horrible, wonderful idea to run a, like, in like Lingering Souls deck sideboards, like Black-White Token sideboard, to run Illness in the Ranks and Blood Artist.
All right.
And just be like, all right, well, you don't get any Thopters. Well, you don't get any Spirits, but I have a Blood Artist. Guess what? Ba, 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 ba.
It's almost like that one deck. God.
Yeah, Forbidden Spirits. Yeah,
Forbidden Spirits.
Forbidden Soul Sisters, whatever.
Yep.
I love that deck.
Yeah, it's sweet.
That's an old Rogue Deck Builder.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his real name. He did it on Rogue Deck Builder. I didn't think he did it for Gathering Magic, but it was sweet. He was playing that for like a full month, I think, and it was really cool.
Yeah. No, I have, that is another thing. I would F&M that, like I would bring that to our weekly. I don't know if I would bring it to like an open. Maybe with like, just because like the black and white sideboard cards are so good. Like I think even a deck like that where you're kind of like, here's my alternate win con, which is casting Spectra Procession when I have an Illness in the Ranks.
Just go Mardu tokens with like Impact Tremors, Blood Artist.
Yeah. And you're like, Spectra Procession just got really real.
Spectra Procession takes 6.
Yeah, take 6, drain you for 3. Let's do this. And then like Young Pyromancer, list the whole.
Yeah, you get Young Pyromancer, you get and the other thing is white and red. White is probably the best sideboard color. Red's probably second, and then black following kind of close behind.
Yeah.
Blue's probably the worst sideboard color, for sure.
Yeah.
Green is somewhere in between.
No, green is best with red if you are not playing white. Like that is what I found.
Sure.
So, I mean, as with everything, your mileage may vary.
Yep.
But that deck actually, I think that that Blood Artist Soul Sisters deck, I believe Zulaport Cutthroat had not come out yet. Like I don't think that card existed at the time.
The problem is Zulaport Cutthroat doesn't trigger on your opponent's creatures, which takes away the whole Forbidden Orchard combo. Because your opponent's creatures dying are really what made that even better.
But I mean, if as Blood Artist 5 and 6,
I think Suture Priest.
Oh, that's right.
Suture Priest was the extra Blood Artist, and you can even go up to 8.
Yep.
Because then it's like, give you a token, and it dies, and Suture Priest trigger, you lose a life. So that was it. Yeah.
So there you go. That's if you're in the area and you happen to be at one of our weeklies, like what the reason that our schedule's been a little bit wacky. I've had a ton of stuff going on at home, a ton of stuff going on at work. It's just been like a nightmare. So I will be sort of stabilizing in terms of just workload and normal life stuff very shortly. So I will get back to streaming in earnest and, doing all of the things that I was doing before my life got sucked away. And so that, as they say, is that. So now, without further ado, what are you working on in Magic Online?
So I was actually also working on Eldrazi textures, like I kind of alluded to. I've been testing it a bit.
Yep.
It doesn't use any fetch lands, which is useful.
Yep. 4 Caves of Koilos, 4 Godless Shrines,
Yep.
4 Ghost Quarters, 4 Eldrazi Temples.
Yep. And the one thing people keep doing and I keep not liking is running like 3 swamps. I just don't like it. I got mana screwed too many times, color screwed too many times with basic swamps. And if you ever have, like, I've kept hands where it's like Caves of Koilos, swamp, and never found another white source.
Yeah.
And those games are tough. So I think I went down to 1 basic swamp. I upped it to like 2 shambling vents or something, and I think I'm only running 3 planes. The deck actually runs a lot fewer basics than normal white, black, death, and taxes, but that's to be expected with 4 of your slots taken up by Eldrazi Temple.
Right.
And the deck's good. Like we've said, it's cast Eldrazi. Still, it's fair now.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the best Eldrazi shell, which is good because this is like people asked us both in emails and on Twitter and stuff, like, where does Eldrazi go now? And that was one of my answers. It was, I didn't think Heartless Headed Tsugo was the right direction. Something white, black, mid-rangey, and all of these taxing effects are just so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they're, when you're tearing apart their hand with Tide Hollow Sculler and they don't have cards to discard to kill your Reality Smasher,
it's real good.
It's a hard life. And even if they do, if they're then paying, 2 mana, 3 mana for a Terminate after discarding another card, that's tough. So,
as I mentioned in paper, I've been playing Jund.
Sure. Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. Like I said, I always have either hot or cold days with it, which is odd because Jund really is supposed to be like the rock most consistent deck in Modern.
Well, it should be the 55% deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, all of your matchups are fine. I think the real reason is I haven't had enough experience recently in the mirror match, and I always forget to include a big plan for the Jund mirror in my sideboard. Right now, it's just like Chandra, 4 mana Chandra, Painful Truths, Kitchen Finks, a couple of those, and hope for the best. Lean on Huntmaster and Kalidas really hard. I also think those are the 2 4-drops I'm running main deck, and I like them a lot.
Yeah.
I need to dig out my Abzan and Baloth to throw in the sideboard. I think that's a good option, but I don't like Olivia right now, and Kalidas is just fantastic.
He's
so good.
Card's unreal. I want at least 1. I kind of even maybe want 2. They're expensive because they are in Standard, but I don't even know that he sees that much play in Standard. His play...
He is, because he's just one of the best mid-range control finishers.
Yeah.
So the new, people are trying to jam Grixis Control in Standard, and because, all the best removal spells right now in Standard are red and black. Yep. Besides the actual best, for people who play Standard, don't freak out, the best removal spell in Standard is Declaration Stone.
Oh, right.
Distant second to Declaration Stone is every red and black removal spell. You just get much more consistency.
Do they have Throttle in there right now?
I don't think so, but you have Grasp of Darkness.
Oh, that's
Fiery
what I'm
Temper.
it's
Lightning Axe.
Yeah.
And then you have the Planeswalkers, Chandra and Obnixilis.
Yep.
The red and black removal is just, and you even have Deadweight just for tiny stuff for 1 mana.
Yep.
The red and black removal is just the best removal right now, and so they're throwing that in at Splashing Blue for Jace, and sometimes counter spells and things like that for extra value, or you're splashing green for Sylvan Advocate, Hissing Quagmire, Den Protector.
Sylvan Advocate, real good.
Yeah, and in those decks, the best 4-drop creatures are like Kalidas, If you're more on the madness plan, you can get away with Mind Rack Demon. So you're not running so many legendary like 4-drops.
Yep.
But in those decks, yeah, it's between 2, 3 of, and in modern, we talked about Michael Major's Grixis deck. He was running 3 Kalitas, I believe.
Yep. Card's real good.
It is. It's just fantastic. Can't recommend it enough. But other than that, Jund's Jund.
Yep. But it's $20, man. It's like really expensive.
I have 2 copies because I ran it in Mardu Green.
Oh, right.
It's fantastic there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want 3 in a deck just because legendary, but it's fantastic. I might. And the last deck that I'm working on is Magic Online. I'm calling it Eeerie Abzan.
Oh yeah. You've been hot on Eeerie Interlude since it got spoiled.
Yes and no. Like it comes and goes. I finally just put together the real deck that it should go in, which is Better Ghostway.
Yep.
This is built for Magic Online purposes only, with my collection in mind. I'm sure I'll record something with this at some point. So there are no noble hierarchs in this list. In paper, there probably should be. Sure. But if you're on a budget, which this deck does actually allow you to do, Magic Online full main deck comes in just under 130, or right around 130, because I think this is without the actual Eeerie Interludes. So fairly friendly, considering you're getting staples.
Yep.
So 4 Birds of Paradise, because you're ramping into 3-drops a lot. 4 Tidehowler Scullers, they're fantastic.
Card's good.
And easily abusable with Eeerie Interlude. 3 Blade Splicers.
Yep, that's a good
Win
one.
condition / abusable. 3 Eternal Witnesses. This is the engine that makes the deck work. 4 Kitchen Finks, once again.
Yep.
Fantastic. 4 Siege Rhino. See other things. 1 Sidisi Undead Vizier.
Okay.
Man, 4 Sick Death Touchers with Demonic Tutor attached are great.
Yeah.
It also makes Birds of Paradise not so bad to top deck.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because if you're going to be continually Eeerie Interluding, or you have an Eeerie Interlude, Birds of Paradise generally at that point is what you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
Or you can get rid of Kitchen Finks. And it'll just persist, and then you'll Eeerie Interlude, and it comes back.
Yep, resets the counters.
Yep. So Sidisi is actually pretty great, because what you end up having is, if you just play a good... So with this creature-based, if you just go, like, turn 1 Birds into turn 2 Blade Splicer, Kitchen Finks, turn 3 Siege Rhino, turn 4 Sidisi, get rid of one of your creatures, you get to tutor up Eeerie Interlude.
Yep.
Then cast Eeerie Interlude, sacrifice another one of your creatures, and go and get Eternal Witness and start the loop.
Yep.
Which is, you're going to Eeerie Interlude, which lets you blink any number of target creatures, not all of your creatures like Ghostway.
Right.
Eternal Witness comes in and grabs back Eeerie Interlude, and continue until your opponent loses or stops playing Magic.
Yeah.
This deck can outgrind anything.
Yep.
It's fantastic. And your Abzan colors, you get to run 4 Paths, 3 Thoughtseize, and 3 Abrupt Decay are the other spells besides the 4 Eeerie Interlude.
Seems good.
And that's basically it. 23 lands, because your curve is both higher and lower. I mean, you're running the 4 birds. I flooded out a little too much at 24 lands.
Yeah.
It's fine. And I didn't even cut. I actually had a 61 card main deck for a while.
Why not?
And then I just flooded out so much that I just cut the 24th land. I'm at 60 even, and it's been fine. Okay. So it's pretty sweet. You get all of the sideboard. You get Leyline of the Void as a sideboard option. You get Creeping Corrosion to take care of Affinity and Stony Silence, whatever you want to do.
Yep. Your
matchup against Burn is absolutely fantastic, but you have Core Firewalker if you want it. You have so much things. Revelark wasn't as great in this deck as it is in Collected Company.
Sure.
It's all right, but yeah, the deck has a lot going for it. It's Eeerie Interlude. You get to run Blade Splicer for value now, which you couldn't do in Ghostway, because you just don't target your tokens. And sometimes that's it. Sometimes you just go Birds into Blade Splicer into Eeerie Interlude, Eternal Witness, Loop, and you just make a 3/3 for free every turn, and then you're still drawing Paths, Thoughtseizes, Abrupt Decays.
Yep.
And you're just going to win.
Yeah, the power level of the cards is high enough that, you're not drawing garbage because there's no garbage in the deck.
No, there's not. Every card is completely reasonable, and this is the type of deck where you want to be because you can outgrind the grindy decks, you can beat Burn, Affinity you can sideboard against. I think the toughest matchup is probably Infect.
Yeah, I could see that.
But besides Infect, you're in a pretty good spot, and if Death and Taxes types decks get really popular, you're mostly a creature deck, and your creatures are better.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part. Like, Siege Rhino can still block Reality Smasher.
Yep.
And if not, Sidisi Undead Vizier can. Sidisi Undead Vizier can also block Reality Smasher. Oh, I meant Thought Not Seer before. Siege Rhino blocks Thought Not Seer all day. Sidisi blocks everything and kills Reality Smasher.
Yep. There you go.
It's just sweet.
My Magic Online right now is Esper Spirits. I had actually started recording videos with the original version of Esper Spirits, and then as I was playing it, I was like, this needs changes. The original version that I was running was the sort of combo-ish version with Tallowisp and to tutor Steel the Godhead for Geist of Saint Traft. But what ended up happening too many times is I would end up with, because you have to, right, like if that's going to be your engine, you have to run 4 Tallowisps, and Tallowisps on their own are not good enough.
Nope.
So it just sort of like ended up, the power level wasn't there.
Yep.
So I pulled out the Tallowisps, and I pulled out, I pulled out the Tallowisps, and I just went up to 4 Steel of the Godhead and 4 Geist, because with running 4 Steel of the Godhead, you're going to draw them enough that you don't need to tutor them. And the other cards in the deck then just sort of ended up becoming better. So where I landed was 4 path, it's 4 path, a Spell Snare, 3 Thoughtseize, and then 4 Rattle Chains, 4 Pale Rider of Trostad, 4 Bloodghast, 4 Azorius Herald, 4 Steel the Godhead, 4 Geist, 1 Obsidat, and 2 Mana Leaks, I think.
Okay.
Or just like the other ones.
Yep.
But what it gives you is, and then the mana base, which I will come back to because, man, the deck runs so smooth. Like 8 fast lands.
Yep.
It's just like so good. Anyways, so oftentimes what I'll be able to do is turn 1, Disruption, turn 2, Pale Rider, discard Bloodghast, turn 3, play my land, have 5 power on the board, and then swing 3, next turn, end of turn, flash and Rattle Chains, save somebody from a removal spell, and then swing 7.
Yep.
It's good. And then not even taking into account turn 2, flash and Rattle Chains, turn 3, hold up Mana Leak. Oh, nothing that needed to be Mana Leaked. Flash in Geist of Saint Traft.
Right.
Cast Steel of the Godhead, win the game.
Yep.
So the deck, like I said, and having the main deck life game from Azorius Herald, is quite good. Gaining 4 life, and like he's 2 power unblockable, which isn't great. In a pinch, I have put Steel of the Godhead on him, which will make him a 3/2 unblockable lifelink, which, if nothing else, will just buy you some time.
Yeah, well, it'll erase a single threat. It'll erase a Tarmogoyf. It'll erase a Scavenging Ooze.
And I will say I liked Pale Rider when it was spoiled.
Yep.
I did not fully appreciate how much of a clock a 3-power creature that can't be blocked by Tarmogoyfs presents.
Yeah, or anything, because now your opponent has the awkward position of how large do they grow their scavenging ooze.
Yep.
It's just a lot of it. Even like a flipped Huntmaster.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in the format where it's just, I can't block.
Yeah. And, so between flying, unblockable, Geist of St. Traft, it attacks on a lot of different angles.
Right.
Because most of the people that are running big creatures are not running flyers.
Right.
Most of the people that are running flyers are not running big creatures. So like you're covered either way. And, nobody wants to throw away half a Lingering Souls to block a Pale Rider.
Right.
Like that feels bad because they've then invested 3 mana to not kill your 3/3, and then they flash it back and they still can't kill your 3/3.
Yeah. It's 5 mana single creature fog for 4 turns.
Yeah. That's it would be good enough if the deck was also not presenting like multiple other evasive must kill threats. And then I did get to live the dream. End step, cast Obsidat, flash in Obsidat, blammo. Like I flash him in before your end step, exile him at your end step, and then bring him back next turn.
Yep.
Haste. Bam! Take 5. Waka waka waka. But BT Dubs, that card's real good.
No, it is.
And if you put Steel of the Godhead on it, it gets even better. 6/6 lifelink that also gained you 2 life when it came in.
Yeah.
Or drained for 2, actually.
Right.
Card's super good. So the mana base, like I said, I was not a believer in fast lands before I actually played with a lot of them.
They're fantastic.
Like running a deck with 8 fast lands, I've shocked so rarely.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time that I usually have to fetch is either for my 4th land or if I need to emergency bring back a Bloodghast for some reason.
Right. Even then, you don't have to shock yourself for the mana.
Right.
You're probably just losing the 1 life.
Yep. So yeah, if you are playing any combination of colors that can run 2 full sets of any of the fast lands, do yourself a favor and grab them.
Yeah, it definitely depends on, once again, like mileage may vary. Like Jund has been running. One of the advantages of Jund over Junk or Abzan has always been the access to Blackleaf Cliffs.
Right.
And now people are finally catching on. I don't know. I know I sent it in our last recording. I don't know how many times I've said it before then, but Grixis should be running Fastlands.
Yep.
And some people are finally catching on. I like the 2-2 split between Blackleaf Cliffs and Darkslick Shores. I don't know how many you want. In Grixis, you need fetches for Del fodder.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. You're not really messing around with that. But at least 4 fast lands in decks that can support it. And that's like, Modern is a very fast format, and those lands, the only drawback is you have to play it on your first 3 turns. That's fantastic.
Right.
Like, it's better than a lot of them. The only downside is they are only the allied colors.
Right.
I wish they'd print the rest at some point, but I don't know when or if they will.
It's going to be... it's at least a full block away because, it has to be the only, like, viable rare land cycle in a block.
It would be very good in the next block because it would keep mana bases not great.
Right.
Because you currently have the rare lands in Shadows.
Right.
That require basic land types, which fast lands do not have.
Yep.
So that would put you at this awkward fight and be really good for modern, but not too powerful for standard. The only decision is, are they going to want really good mana bases when the next block comes in, or do they still want the more 2-color mana bases splashing a third color?
Yeah. And also, this is a habit that I've gotten into recently. When I'm running 3-color decks, just bite the bullet and play one of the tricolor tap lands.
I think it depends. Very few decks would I actually do that with. I did it in the slower, I ran the Arcane Sanctums in the Esper control stuff, but that's about it.
I'm running a single Arcane Sanctum. The last Mardu deck that I ran, I think I actually ran 2 of them because the mana was a little heavy. But it is, it's not bad.
In decks that can afford to not play something on time. If you're more powerful in the late game, sure, but obviously you can't do it in an aggro deck.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
You can't. Well, in even the more, I don't know, Esper Spirits is right on that cusp.
Yep.
Of not being able to do it.
Yeah. Well, it really turned into basically it switched from being a Tallowisp Geist of Saint Traft combo deck to being an aggro control deck.
Yep.
And aggro control is way better than Tallowisp combo.
I believe you.
Turns out it's a pretty soft combo. Doesn't, it wins you the game kind of, most decks can't beat Geist with Steel of Godhead.
Yeah.
Cause you can't race it.
No, you pretty much need to do the whole kill your Tallowisp Liliana minus.
Yeah. But like I said, that's still a very viable win con in this deck, but it just has more value and still keeps the spirit synergy. Yeah, I see what you did there.
I thought you were going to be spirit of the deck too.
No.
It also works.
Yeah, no, I purposely avoided it.
I didn't. You're welcome.
Thank you. So you get maximum value out of Rattle Chains.
Yep.
By keeping all the stuff as spirits. And let me tell you, if it makes somebody sad, they go Abrupt Decay, and you go Rattle Chains, make it hexproof, blammo.
Yep.
In addition to, just spell snare your Tarmogoyf, mana leak your Liliana.
No, it's you normally don't think tempo with Esper Spirits, but it works.
There it is. Yep. So I will get the revised videos done. I have to re-record some matches, and then redo the deck tech and get it up there. So coming soon. I actually did play against a listener.
Sweet.
Which was neat. It's still it's interesting to me when I still, obviously, not that I don't like to meet our listeners online, stuff like that.
Right.
But just to have somebody be like, "Oh man, I just saw your username. You're from TurnOneThoughtseize?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." It's like, "Oh, that's super sweet. Let's play this thing." And then I felt bad because there are only 3 Thoughtseizes in the deck, and I Thoughtseized him turn 1 off of a fast land 3 games in a row.
True to name.
And I was like, look, I'm not trying to do this on purpose. I swear there are only 3 Thoughtseizes in the entire deck. However, Darkslick Shore's Thoughtseizes. Do you just...
Yep.
Sometimes you just get them.
Yep.
Just happens. Do you have anything else that is on the docket? Before we get to the spice rack and do the social media spiel, is there anything you'd like to do before that?
Nope, that is it from me.
All right. So before we get to the spice rack, You can visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/TurnOneThoughtseize, all spelled out. You can visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/T1Thoughtseize, or just at T1Thoughtseize. You can go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/TurnOneThoughtseize, all spelled out. And you can see all of our content on the newly time-shifted TurnOneThoughtseize.com, all spelled out. It no longer looks like a school project from 1999.
Yep.
And as always, if you can rate and review us on iTunes, it helps us out quite a bit. So 6-star reviews.
We'll probably do give out a playmat.
Yep.
For
so
one randomly selected iTunes review.
Yep. So make it a good one, because if you give us a 2-star review and you end up getting the mat, you feel like a real jerk. So without further ado, the Spice Rack. Our Spice Rack card for this week is a card that actually someone asked us about on Twitter, called Seal of Fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking of things that were time shifted, wasn't that Seal of Fire? Isn't that a Planar Chaos? Or no, Dissension?
It was in the original Ravnica block, I know that. Before that, it was in a older set. Nemesis was the first printing.
Oh, right.
So it was an older card. They reprinted it in Dissension, and then I think it's gotten dual deck printings.
Got it.
But 1 red mana for an enchantment.
Yup.
That you can sacrifice the enchantment to deal 2 damage to target creature or player. Sort of halfway between instant and sorcery speed shock.
Right. So why would someone play this dumb card? The answer is, it's not a dumb card. It's actually a good card.
It is a good card.
Its level 0 application is, you can just run it out there, and it's sort of it's a shock on layaway.
Yeah.
Right? You pay for it when you have extra mana, and then it just sits out there.
Yeah.
And then something happens, you're like, I need to kill that 2 toughness thing. Shock you. Like, zap, instant speed, because obviously you cast it at sorcery speed, but you activate it at instant speed.
Right.
The sort of next step up from that is decks that really want this are looking for a diversity of card type. So this powers up your Tarmogoyf without forcing you to play a bad card.
Right.
You know,
and
like
if you're jamming Delirium.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Like now that Delirium is a thing, having an enchantment that's not embarrassing, right? Like playing Tarfire is awful.
Right.
And the only reason that anybody ever plays Tarfire is because it's tribal and it powers up Tarmogoyf. You can play this instead, and it's
good.
Yeah, and it's not Tarfire.
Right.
Right? Like,
yep.
Because Tarfire is just bad shock.
Yep.
Or I guess good shock if you have Goblin Tutor.
Nah, it's not.
No.
But
anyways, so that's kind of the reasoning.
Yep. And in this deck, the reason why we're asked is because it showed up in Michael Majors' Grixis Control deck in the Modern Open.
Yep.
And this deck was also running it alongside Kalitas.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really good, because if you spend your, turn 3, terminate their creature and cast Seal of Fire, you've got all your bases covered. Or hold up a 2-mana counter and cast Seal of Fire.
Yep.
And your turn 4 is Kalitas, Seal of Fire your creature. Now I already got value.
Right.
Same thing, reasoning behind a Singleton Slaughter Pact alongside Kalitas.
Yep.
Sometimes you just want immediate value without spending any mana on when you cast Kalitas.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, like I said, the card, just to look at it, you'd be like, what? Like, why is this even there? But it really does. I mean, even stuff like against Abzan Company, right? Like with the Kitchen Finks, like when they persist,
yep,
you can just zap it
Yeah, zap their Melira, zap their Anafenza, zap their sometimes Viscera Seer, depending on what their numbers might be. You can take a gamble, but Seal of Fire, like they have to take care of Seal of Fire before they go for their combo.
Right. So they're probably going to need to spend a turn to cord for Reclamation Sage, if they're even running it in the main deck.
And Pride Mage.
Oh, Pride Mage, that's true. Mage. But even that, they're going to cord for Pride Mage, and then they might have to wait a turn to activate it. And then...
But they can't wait a turn, because you'll just Seal of Fire the Pride
Correct.
No, you don't do that. You make them...
Yeah,
use the mana, but...
Make them do it. But, so it's another thing that they have to take care of before they can go off. So... now
they have to go off through your regular removal and counter spells too.
Right.
And if you have Cletus in play, they can't go off.
Yep. La-di-da-di-da. So Seal of Fire, deceptively useful.
Great addition to the spice rack.
It is indeed. It is a great addition to the spice rack. So hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for listening, and we will get back at you on our regular schedule, which would be 2 weeks from now.
After you pre-order playmats.
After you pre-order playmats by going to our website, TurnOneThoughtseize.com, all spelled out, clicking on the store link, then clicking on playmat, then giving us money.
That was really in-depth.
Yup. Shouldn't be any confusion.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Hope you had fun. We had fun. Peace.